Hi again, this is Lance Capel. This is Grand Canyon University, and this class is Bio 515. And today's presentation is going to be on vasopressin and oxytocin. Endocrinology, central glands, vasopressin, and oxytocin, a connected story. The area of biology known as endocrinology focuses on the endocrine system, a network of glands that directly generate and distribute hormones into the bloodstream. These hormones work as a chemical messenger that move throughout the bloodstream, affecting different organs and bodily processes. Next, we're going to talk about the hypothalamus and the pituitary. The pituitary gland, often called the master gland, it releases its own hormones that affect other endocrine glands after receiving signals from the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus, although not a gland in the strict sense, it functions as a central regulator by releasing neurohormones that either stimulate or inhibit the pituitary gland's ability to release hormones. Now we're going to dive a little bit deeper, and you can see my diagram here where the hypothalamus is and the pituitary gland. The hypothalamus and the posterior pituitary make up a complex pair of neuronal cell bodies. The hypothalamus and pituitary are directly connected, and the hypothalamus influences the actions of the posterior pituitary. Within the hypothalamus, connecting to the posterior pituitary, we have these neuronal cell bodies. Within the hypothalamus, there are two nuclei. We have the supraoptic nucleus and the paraventricular nucleus. And both of these produce oxytocin and vasopressin. They are then packaged by the Golgi, and they are sent through this connecting stalk here to be stored in the posterior pituitary. These nuclei ends with the neuronal terminals in the posterior pituitary, and these are going to release the vasopressin and oxytocin into the general circulatory system, where they will go and act on the organs they need to act on. Like we mentioned earlier, the posterior pituitary does not actually make the hormones. Rather, this is done in the hypothalamus by the supraoptic nucleus and the paraventricular nucleus. The pituitary just stores the hormones until they are to be released. Even though these hormones are made and stored in these areas, only one is released at a time when they are both needed. And they both serve different purposes. Vasopressin. Vasopressin has two names and two jobs. It's called vasopressin, and it's called antidiuretic hormone. With vasopressin, this hormone recruits smooth arteriolar muscle contraction, which ultimately results in vasoconstriction. This helps the body maintain blood pressure and increases systemic vascular resistance. The other important job of this hormone is acting to reabsorb water through the kidneys, which creates this antidiuretic effect, decreasing urine volume. Hence the name antidiuretic hormone. Vasopressin has three different receptor types located throughout the body. The V1 receptor is responsible for the pressor effect on arterioles and is also found in the gastrointestinal tract smooth muscle. This helps with the contraction of our blood vessels in that gastrointestinal smooth muscle. And you can see here the V2 kidneys, fluid reabsorption, increased blood volume. The V2 receptor shown here is going to help with that kidney fluid absorption, and it mediates the antidiuretic effect and is located in the basolateral membrane of the principal cells of the collecting tubules of the nephron, and these nephrons are located in the kidneys. Not located on the diagram here, a third receptor, the V3 receptor, is present in anterior pituitary corticotrophes, where it mediates a minor control and the increased secretion adrenocorticotropic. So this is just another hormone usually having to do with adrenaline. One disorder having to do with vasopressin is diabetes. The decreased availability of the vasopressin leads to something called diabetes insipidus. And you might have heard there are two types of diabetes insipidus and diabetes mellitus. Insipidus means tasteless, in reference to the urine produced by these patients, unlike diabetes mellitus, meaning sweet urine. Due to excessive glucose present in these patients' urine samples. One symptom of diabetes insipidus is the inability to concentrate urine and conserve water due to the decreased activity of vasopressin, and this is formally called polyuria. This is going to affect these V2 receptors. These patients are not going to be able to absorb that fluid due to decreased amount of vasopressin. So the kidneys won't be able to absorb that fluid and will have a decrease in blood volume. And that's going to cause the patients to urinate excessively. Oxytocin is released in response to increased levels on estrogen from sensory responses from the uterus during delivery and suckling during breastfeeding. This hormone is released from sensory stimulation either by the uterus or by the breast tissue. Oxytocin actually works as a positive feedback loop, resulting in more oxytocin produced, which results in faster labor or milk secretion until the process is completed. This is unlike other hormones to regulate on a negative feedback loop when too much of the hormone is produced and another has to be secreted to stop that first hormone from being circulated. Oxytocin is destroyed in the gastrointestinal tract when provided orally. So this requires an injection or nasal spray of synthetic oxytocin to induce labor and facilitate progression of labor. And I have in my diagram here, if you look at the very bottom here, central connection released in reaction to experiences such as orgasm, lactation, and physical contact. The hypothalamus combines sensory and emotional data to regulate the release of oxytocin. And here are a couple key points. They are the important oxytocin and vasopressin are the important players in the endocrine system, and are the central glands which receive signals from the brain and release hormones that affect different parts of the body. Also, the intricate hormonal connections that occur within the body are exemplified by the production of vasopressin and oxytocin by the posterior pituitary and their release by the hypothalamus. Comprehending these associations is crucial for multiple medical domains such as managing imbalances in water balance, encouraging safe birthing, and investigating the neuroscience of social conduct. And these are my references. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you.